Hi everyone, it is Wednesday and that means we're now on chapter 3 of Alexis Snipperdoom Power Plays. So let's get going and start reading and hopefully you're enjoying this. Alright, here we go. Kidnapped. Help, help, oh no, the princess has been kidnapped, screamed Carmen. She ran down the hallway looking for Pauto or any other security officer, almost tripping over her own feet. As she turned the corner of the corridor, she bumped into Armbruster, almost causing him to hit the wall. "What are you saying?" he screamed as he violently grabbed Carmen's arm. "Where is my child?" His eyes flashed in anger. "Sir, last night I put the princess in her crib. I woke up this morning to feed her, and she was gone. I went to the queen's chamber thinking she might have Lila, but sir, she does not. She is gone. She's been kidnapped." Carmen fell to the ground, shaking and crying, her head buried in her hands, tears running down her cheeks. Armbruster shook his head as he looked down at Carmen. Stupid woman! Why had she not protected his daughter? Angry, he turned and ran down the hall. Just as he was about to turn the corner, he encountered a security commoner with a mesmer scepter in his right hand. It appeared the security commoner was already aware of the missing child and had initiated a massive security sweep, scouring the palace looking for the missing baby. Security was on its highest alert. Still, Armbruster did not like the fact that she had not already been found. This most likely meant she was not in the palace. Lila had in fact been kidnapped. He became violently angry. He quickly pushed aside the security commoner and turned to find Alexis. She was undoubtedly in her chamber. He never made it to her chamber as he spotted her approaching with pure anger on her face. Alexis came running down the hall and grabbed Armbruster by the arm. "What have you done?" she screamed at him. "My child is missing because you are weak. Find my child or pay the price." She released his arm and swung at him. He stopped her hand an inch before her face. "Stop it, Alexis. You're out of control. I understand you're scared, but enough. Gain control of your emotions. There are others watching us." His eyes widened with anger, his bottom lip sticking out. Frustrated and disgusted with Armbruster, she ran away to find Ariana. Armbruster was deathly afraid. He had no idea who had taken his child. The audacity, he thought. He wondered if someone close to him was responsible. Was it payback for Alexis and her new plan for the clan? He started to feel ill all over again. What if this was retaliation because of Alexis's grand new plan? She would pay. He would personally see to it. Her irresponsible actions could have caused or prompted the kidnapping. Ariana shook her head in disbelief as Alexis told her about Lila's disappearance. She was stunned. She could not believe what she heard. Alexis seemed uncomfortably calm considering her child was missing. It made Ariana wonder how she was able to remain so cool. What are we going to do, Alexis? Who do you think took her? And why did they take her?" "I'm not even going to try to guess. I will tell you one thing for sure. Whoever took her will be sorry, and they better hope she comes back home unharmed, or they will surely perish." Ariana watched as Alexis paced back and forth. She was clearly becoming more agitated as time progressed, her demeanor changing rapidly. Down the hall, in another chamber, Armbruster sat in a circle with 4 other warlocks planning their next move. Oren, his trusted friend, explained how he had heard someone walking outside early in the morning and ordered security to check it out. Unfortunately, nothing had been found. Suddenly, the door blew open, and a breathless security member entered, struggling to speak. "Calm down, my friend. Take a moment," Armbruster advised. "Sir, 2 of the Torrens in a carriage are missing. It is the Queen's carriage. It is gone. What are your orders, sir?" He stood at attention, waiting to hear Armbruster's response. Go back. Go back to the rest of the security. Tell them to take the rest of the Torrens and conduct a security sweep. They must find the carriage. I want it found immediately. Do you understand?" The security commoner bowed his head in acknowledgement and left swiftly. He had a mission, and he was not going to fail. He proceeded to walk down the steep staircase to find the other security members to give them new orders. Within minutes, 17 young commoners mounted Torrens and flew off into the morning to find the missing carriage and the princess. Meanwhile, Alexis sat by her window crying. She rubbed her eyes. It had been a long time since she felt this out of control, and she did not like it. Alexis was grieving the disappearance of her daughter. Why had this happened? She seethed. It better had nothing to do with Armbruster, she thought. However, her gut feeling told her it had everything to do with him. Perhaps it was related to his growing incompetence as a leader. Time would tell. Armbruster had become a liability, and she knew she could no longer rely on him. Alexis would have to take things into her own hands. She would enlist Ariana's help. She was more than capable. Alexis realized the front of her gown was soaked with tears. She got up from her chair and walked to her closet to change out of her wet gown. There, she took out one of her favorite robes, a dark gray flowing robe with purple crystals embedded in the sleeves and neck. She loved the feeling of the material. It soothed her when she was upset. Once she was wearing the gown, she returned to her large plush chair. She placed her head in her hands and sat quietly. Suddenly, the door blew open. Armbruster entered with 2 guards. "I have news. We have found one of the drivers of your carriage. He was knocked unconscious. He saw the face of the thief and claims it was a woman. She wore a purple robe with silver darbeds. You know, the only one wearing darbeds are witches from Earth." Immediately, Alexis stood up and walked towards Armbruster. What are you saying, Armbruster? Was it my mother? Was it Lorthana? Answer me." She screamed hysterically. She pointed her finger right in his face and continued her tirade. "If it was Lorthana, I will tell you this. She will perish by my hands. Mark my words." Clenching her fist, she pounded the air, grinding her teeth. Her eyes flashed like lightning from anger as she stared at Armbruster with a vicious scowl. She stormed off to her royal meeting chamber, 2 guards on her heels, her black hair flowing behind her like a long black veil. She was furious. How dare that woman, she thought. Why would Lorthana do this? Did she really think she could get away with kidnapping her child? Her mother was insane. Alexis would ensure the traitor paid with their life. Opening the large double doors to the royal meeting chamber, Alexis frowned. "Get Ariana in here now," she shrieked at Pershaya, her personal assistant. Pershaya looked at her for a moment with a confused look on her face. "Lazy girl, did you not hear me? Get off your big behind and go get her now." Scared to death, Pershaya ran from the chamber to find Ariana. Alexis watched her quick departure, smiling and feeling amused. At the same time, Armbruster appeared in the royal meeting chamber with his guards. He tightly held the Book of Varathun in his shaking hands. He looked up deep in thought as he mindlessly tapped his fingers on the book, staring at Alexis. "Alexis, we must read the detector and possibly enact the chant of Reztek. You must ensure the safety of the clan and the kingdom. Please, I know you are upset. However, we need to protect all of us. If Lorthana took Lila, then everything will be okay. She will not harm our child. She is merely trying to send you a message. Plus, we do not even know for sure if she's the one responsible." "You must think I'm an idiot. Of course it was Lorthana. My mother told me when we left Earth she would make me pay for betraying our family and leaving. This is her way of sending me a very clear message." Alexis stood up from her chair and walked towards Armbruster. "Why do you insist on being so protective of her?" What is it you know about this?" She glared at him as she shook her head in disgust. He squirmed uncomfortably in his stance, still tapping the book. "Exactly what are you accusing me of, Alexis?" he growled back, with his head cocked off to one side. He knew exactly what she was implying, and it angered him. Why would she think he was protecting anyone? Why did she even doubt his loyalty? He had not given her any reason to feel this way. "Oh, let's not play games, Armbruster. You know exactly what I'm saying." She rolled her shoulders and glared at him. She felt betrayed. She stood in front of him with her hands on her hips. Alexis believed Armbruster was withholding some kind of information. The chamber opened and Ariana entered. Her eyes red, swollen, and puffy. She looked awful. She was wearing her red robe, indicating mourning. This only seemed to aggravate Alexis even more as she watched Ariana enter the room. "Finally, what took you so long?" she hissed. As she looked at the red robe, she shook her head with contempt. "How dare you wear the robe of tears? Remove it at once." I cannot believe you would do that. She is not dead. She is simply missing. My queen, I simply wanted to honor your feelings of loss and grief during this difficult time. Please accept my apology. Of course, I will change at once. No. Hold on, Ariana, interceded Armbruster. You're right. We should all be wearing our red robes. We need to show the commoners and those around us in this difficult time. We must show unity. We should all wear our robes, added Armbruster. Ariana was shocked. Had he just agreed with her decision to wear the robe? Wow, that was something new. She bowed down in front of him and looked down. He placed his hand approvingly on her right shoulder. Go sit and let's talk, he demanded. Okay, enough already. We will all wear our robes. Happy, Armbruster? Can we please get on with it already? Replied snippily Alexis. She could not understand why all the irrelevant chit-chat. Why the debate? Why the waste of time? The driver stated it was a woman with astonishing green eyes, relayed Armbruster. He continued. Also, he stated he saw some of her hair from under her hood. He claimed it was jet black. She was also very tall. I can only assume it was Lorthana based on the description. There is no one else we know matching that description other than Lorthana. So the question remains, what do we do? Shall we go back to Earth and find Lila? Shall we send out a hunt party to find Lorthana? How do we wish to proceed, dear? He asked Alexis, looking straight at her. She looked away and walked to the window. She'd heard enough. Alexis was convinced it was Lorthana. She bit her bottom lip, not wanting to yell. Silence filled the room. She took a deep breath to regain her composure. She could tell them exactly what she wanted to do. I want you to do whatever you have to do to find that woman. I want her delivered to me in one piece. I want to be the one to put an end to her miserable life. It will be by my hands I will drain her life. I want that honor. If she kidnapped my child, she will die. Armbruster bowed his head and walked out the chamber. He was certain what had to be done. He had no problem with delivering Lorthana to Alexis. If Lorthana was responsible, she would pay the price. Alexis would not stand for this betrayal. For once, he agreed with her. Lorthana walked down the narrow corridor of her estate. She carried the book of Bartu in her left hand. She was in a hurry to find Gardone, her husband, and speak with him about Alexis and Armbruster. Lorthana knew Gardone would want to figure out where to look for the couple next. She entered his room. Hello, dear, she whispered, trying not to disturb him, but still get his attention. Oh, hello, come in, Hannah, he replied. He always called her Hannah, especially when he was in a good mood. What may I do for you? Is that the book of Bartu? Are you still trying to find them? He asked, knowing the answer, wondering why Lorthana had not given up yet. Gardone, you know I want to find them. I can only assume they are on Elastromia. However, the globe of sight is not showing me anything. I have not been able to find them. Zandora has not heard from them in a long time. She's very worried and annoyed as well. Well, maybe they just want to be left alone. They were in a hurry to leave. You should respect their wishes. I know you miss her, Hannah, but you must let it go. It is just hurting you more every day. She will come to her senses one day and return. I promise. You know, dear, the thing I love about you the most is the fact that you're such an optimist. However, I do know my daughter. She's headstrong and very stubborn. Well, kind of like her mother. She will not come back here, ever. It breaks my heart as I think of her daily. I cannot even enjoy the proper witch being on earth, knowing my daughter is not here to share with all the fun festivities, stated Lorthana. Time will heal all of this, trust me. I must go to attend the weekly meeting. I will be home later. Go relax and enjoy the full moon. Gardone walked out of the room and into the dark hall with his attendant Sheev right behind him. Come on, don't walk so slowly. We're late, Gardone reprimanded him. On the way out the door, he stopped by the shelf to pick up his scepter of Stenard. It had been given to him by his father, the great warlock, Prince Stenard. It was a powerful scepter. The power was not known by most, as it was a secret weapon. However, Gardone knew its power, and he was well aware of how to use it and how to work to solve most problems. With the scepter of Stenard, he was able to locate Armbruster and Alexis the moment they arrived on Alstromia. He knew exactly where they were, and he really didn't care. They were traitors, and like all traitors, they would pay for their abandonment. He walked to Weiser Hall, where the meeting was taking place, to decide how to deal with traitors. Back on Alstromia, Alexis sat in her chamber for hours, looking out the window, feeling hopeless and powerless. She desperately wanted her daughter back in her arms. She missed her smile and her pink lips. She adored her gorgeous, sparkling eyes. Frustrated, she rose from her chair and marched towards the door. She was about to grab the handle when the door popped open, almost hitting her in the face. "I beg your pardon. What are you doing? Are you trying to kill me, you stupid girl?" She shouted at Carmen. Excuse me, Your Royal Highness. I am so sorry. I was just going to ask you if there was anything I could do for you." She bowed meekly before the Queen, keeping her head low, showing respect. "No, there is nothing you can do for me, unless you know where to find my child." No, I do not know. I wish I did. May I be excused?" she stuttered. "By all means, leave." She dismissed her, waving her hands. At times, she really disliked Carmen. What a worthless little witch. She acted more and more like a commoner. No common sense whatsoever. Carmen left the chamber and ran to her room crying. She felt horrible as the Queen continued to make her feel guilty. She had nothing to do with the disappearance. She would give her life if it meant getting the princess back. She loved Lila from the moment she had met her. She felt responsible for her, and the kidnapping felt personal. She had failed the princess. Once in her room, Carmen drew the curtains closed and crawled under the blanket. There, in complete darkness and silence, she cried herself to sleep. Alexis walked down the hallway. A few of the workers bowed before her as she passed them. She did not acknowledge them. She simply kept walking. She was not in the mood to deal with them. Commoners, she thought. Armbruster gathered his men in the chamber to talk. They discussed the urgent need for tighter security. One of the warlocks suggested the chant of Raztek, a chant to secure the entire planet. Armbruster had already talked with Alexis about performing this chant. It would require 10 different warlocks to make it work, and none of them could be from the same clan. They would need to be different guiders. Armbruster liked the idea. "How many different guiders do we have here in Alstromia? Does anyone know?" he asked, looking at the group. "Sir, I believe we have up to 25. However, only 8 are in our direct line of command. I suggest we interview all 25 to see which guiders can help us perform the chant of Raztek. It would be the best plan. Do you think the Queen would help? Her scepter is powerful enough to equal 2 or more guiders. What do you think?" questioned Harshim. "No, Harshim, I do not want to involve the Queen. She is mourning, and she's not herself. I need you to focus on bringing the 25 guiders to me today. Are you up to the task?" "Of course, sir. I will go with Simone, and he will help me. It will take 2 or more hours, Mims, but we should be back by the evening. I'm sorry, I forget the Queen does not want us to use earthly terminology. I apologize. Also, I promise not to take as long as I realize we must expedite the process. Hopefully, we can get it done before the morning." Hashim walked out the meeting and yelled as he demanded for his sister Simone to join him. They jumped onto 2 torrents and pulled back on the reins and flew off to Mackay to find the 25 guiders. At the same time, the others sat in silence and observed Armbruster, wondering what he was planning. He sat with his right hand against his cheek, tapping on his face. He looked deep in thought. Suddenly, he turned towards the others. His eyes grew big and his eyebrows raised. "I have an idea. Let's go to the carriage stable and speak with Eston and ask him where his son is hiding. He was not at the stable this morning, and I find this peculiar. I think we need to make it clear that we need to speak with him. Perhaps he saw something or knows something," announced Armbruster, feeling empowered. The others nodded their heads in agreement. They thought it was odd Kalan had not been around. He was always tending to the Torrens, braiding their manes, brushing them. He had been their keeper for years, and it seemed suspicious he was missing. Minutes later, Armbruster walked up to Eston, looking at him with a scowl. Eston had been expecting someone to show up to ask about Kalan, but he never thought it would be Armbruster. He bowed down and stammered, Your Royal Majesty, how may I be of assistance? Are you wishing to fly one of the Torrens? I can retrieve your favorite one." He smiled, hoping he would hide his nervousness. A small bead of sweat ran down the side of his face. He quickly wiped it away. We are not here to fly. We're here for Kalan. Where is he? He was not here when my security came by, and they claim he is missing. So where exactly is your son, Eston? Armbruster asked with a tone of interrogation. Sir, I have not seen Kalan in a while. He did not come to the stable to feed the Torrens today. I came by to bring food, and he was not here. My wife informed me he has not been home either. I have no idea where he is. Please accept my apology for his absence. I promise the moment he arrives, I will send him your way, announced Eston nervously. He really did not know where Kalan was hiding, and he was getting worried. No one had seen him since the day before. It was not like Kalan to be gone for long. He loved taking care of the Torrens and took his job seriously. Well, that will not do, not at all. I want him found. He pointed to the house behind the stable. Search the hut. Search the grounds. Find him. I want him found. Is that clear? He barked at the security detail behind him. They nodded in agreement and walked off to search. Sir, he's not here. I am not lying to you. I have been loyal to you and your family my entire life. I promise. Kalan is missing. Eston, I believe you, and I believe you do not know where he's hiding, but I will find him. Let me tell you, if I find he had anything to do with the disappearance of my daughter, he will die. Do you understand? And I hope you comprehend what I'm saying. He raised his scepter and pointed it at Eston as it projected a beam of light. Immediately, Eston felt nauseous. He bent over, began vomiting. He looked up to wipe his mouth. Yes, I understand. His entire body felt rubbery. His stomach ached and his head felt like it was about to explode. He swallowed, trying to keep from vomiting it again. Good. Now get up and get cleaned up. You look and smell disgusting, Armbruster shouted at Eston. Armbruster lowered his scepter. He hated having to do that, but he wanted this commoner to be sure he understood what he was capable of doing to him. That was just a tiny, painful message to make him hurt and make it clear he meant business. Armbruster felt alive for the first time in a long time. He felt in total control. Everything was about to change. He was not going to back down until his daughter was found. The responsible one would pay. He would catch them and then watch them suffer at the hands of his wife, Alexis, and he would enjoy watching her destroy the kidnapper. Sir, we found this by the back of the hut. The security portee handed Armbruster a black cloak embroidered in darbeds. It was saturated with blood and also torn in 2 areas. Armbruster frowned, realizing it was a woman's cloak. It was also very long, definitely belonging to someone tall. He shook his head. He accepted the cloak from Porty and flung it over his right shoulder and declared, I'm off to see the Queen. Keep looking. Anything else you find, give to Yarlin. He will ensure I get whatever it is. I want Kalan found. Is that understood? Asked Armbruster. He was not happy. He was keenly aware Alexis would not like this new information, but he had to find a way to break it to her, slowly. Armbruster walked back to the palace to find Alexis. He was convinced more than ever Lorthana had something to do with the audacious kidnapping and feared for her safety. If Alexis felt her mother was responsible, she would ensure Lorthana would be held responsible for her actions and suffer greatly. He disliked the idea of telling Alexis about his suspicions. Worse, he hated thinking about showing her the cloak. He took it off his shoulder and rolled it into a ball and carried it behind his back. It would be better if she did not see it right away. He would have to find a way to bring it up and then show it to her. Most likely, there would be little he could do to prepare for the moment. However, he would try to find a way to sneak it into the conversation. Armbruster entered the palace and ran into Ariana in one of the hallways. He asked her if she had any idea where he might find Alexis. She pointed to the balcony off to the right side of Visitation Hall. He thanked Ariana and proceeded to walk up to Alexis, holding the cloak behind his back. Alexis looked at him sideways with an odd look on her face. What are you hiding from me, Armbruster? She inquired. Now, what makes you think I'm hiding anything from you? He smiled nervously, baring his teeth. He knew what she meant, but he was not ready to share the news or show her the cloak. I suppose you know me too well. I also see your arms are behind your back. Now, why would that be? So fess up, what is it? She was getting annoyed at the game he was playing with her, and she knew that there was something he wanted to show her. She could only assume it had to do with the kidnapping or Lathana. Sit down, Alexis. I need to talk with you. No, tell me now. I tire of this game. What is it? Here. He pulled his hand from behind his back and showed her the bunched-up cloak. Before he could say anything, she noticed the darbeds. She could feel the anger rise in her quickly. She became stiff as she stared at the cloak. Is that my mother's cloak? Where did you find it? Where is she? She touched the cloak. Is that blood? What is that? She shook her head. So many emotions all at once. They hit her hard. She rubbed her stomach. She cupped her hands over her mouth and looked at Armbruster, feeling ill. Yeah, I think it is. It does look like blood. No, I have no idea where she is, and no, I don't really know if it is her cloak. My security found it by the stable. I had gone to ask Kalan a few questions. Unfortunately, he's nowhere to be found. Eston reported he has been gone for a while. Really? And you believe that? She rolled her eyes at Armbruster skeptically. Yeah, he is telling the truth. I used my scepter. He does not know where Kalan is. Trust me. So what about Meritaz? Does his mother know anything? She suspected someone was protecting Kalan. It probably was Meritaz. We could not find her either. She was not home. My security is looking for her as well, added Armbruster, seeing the reaction on Alexis's face. Alexis was not good at disguising her feelings. When she was mad, it was apparent. She looked beyond mad. Marvelous. Marvelous, marvelous. All the ones we need to speak with are missing. Do you not find this odd? My child is gone and no one has a clue where she is. I'm telling you, somebody knows something. Her tone escalating in range, indicating her patience was dwindling quickly. Yes, Alexis, somebody does know. We will find them soon enough. I have something I'm working on. I have a few things I'm trying, Armbruster announced, feeling very sure of himself. Trying? Really? Well, what does that make me feel like? Confident in your abilities? Trying is for losers. I need results. Perhaps I should take over this task. Alexis pointed her scepter at him in anger. You completely amaze me with your trying comment. I'm stunned you would even say that. Don't you dare threaten me. Do you understand? You may be queen, but I'm still your husband and leader. Don't you ever forget it. Without me, you would not be queen. Do you get it? He screamed right back at her in anger, his veins bulging out of the sides of his head, his bushy eyebrows raised high, and his voice louder than it had been in years. Alexis backed down. She had not heard him that vocal in a long time. She saw pure rage in his dark eyes. At that moment, she feared him. She looked away. Perhaps there was still hope for Armbruster, she thought. Yes, I understand. She took the cloak from him and left the area. She headed to her chamber. In the hallway, Ariana took the cloak from her hands and walked behind Alexis in silence. Armbruster paced back and forth, trying to calm down. He had not been that angry or nasty with Alexis in a while. He was frustrated and outraged with her, mostly appalled at her attitude. It was time. He would remind her, and the rest of Ostromia, he was still the one in charge. She was queen, a figurehead, but he was the one maintaining control. Things needed to revert back to the way they used to be. She needed to be controlled, and he would be the one to do it. He walked back to his chamber. He placed his scepter on the shelf and sat by the chair by his desk and remained silent. Just as he was about to open a book to read, he heard a loud knock. Come in, he shouted in an irritated voice. Sir, I bring exciting news. I just came back from talking to 2 commoners, and they had some news to share. Okay, spit it out. What is it? Asked Armbruster. Sir, one of the commoners who was responsible for taking the Torrens back to the building after the arrival of the special guests noticed something unusual. He noticed one of the Torrens was not yellow. It was a rare white kind. It was also not very friendly. It kept trying to fly off. The commoner had to tie the beast up in the dark stable to keep it from getting out. Its owner must have been privately come to retrieve it, because later when he went to check on it, it was gone. Really? Well, that is interesting. Armbruster was more convinced than ever the Larthana had been part of the kidnapping. His wife's mother was the only one he personally knew with a white Torren. He smiled. Finally, a clue worth investigating. He would keep this information private for now. He was not going to tell Alexis until he was convinced Lorthana had been involved. Alexis would jump to conclusions and potentially ruin the investigation. She had to be kept out of it for now. He smiled. Thank you, you're dismissed. See Yarlin and you will be rewarded. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you kindly. I appreciate it. The commoner walked out of the room. Chapter 4. So that's it for today. We're up to chapter 4. Yeah, I know it was a little bit of a long one, but it is getting exciting. We know now that they have some clues, and potentially Lorthana, Alexis's mother, may or may not be involved. So if you want to find out more, stay tuned next week. Next Wednesday, we'll be reading chapter 4. Please stay healthy and stay at home, and let's get through this time together. We will talk again soon, and have a great day. Bye.